Lamb Rosenfeld, and our legal analyst, Jackie Sopcich, and then myself, JV. We're back at it again today. We're going to call this one Rules for Thee, but Not for Me.
Huh?
Yeah, I know.
Whatever could you mean?
Oh, we're going to get into what I mean. So first off, I want to set up kind of a timeline of events here of what we're going to talk about. There's been, I originally wanted to call this episode Mayors Who Can't Shut Up, but we thought about it and thought that wasn't, the greatest. So
Rules for Thee, not for me, just flows too.
Well, and it's
so
more
fitting.
applicable to what we're going to talk about here shortly. So there's been a lot of fuss, and I wanted to address this with everyone too. Like, people are messaging Blaine, asking her why we're involved in Homer. Why do we care? Well, our tax dollars, if you live in Will County, they go to Homer Township too, because they don't have a police force, right? So
I think they voted on it maybe in the last election cycle to maybe get like their own. I mean, because that's the thing. You've got Village of Shanahan, Shorewood, you've got Joliet. They all have their own separate police departments. Sure. I don't, Homer Glen has always been such a small municipality, whatever they call it. But I don't think they've needed one. But
small municipality, huge egos.
Yeah. Just a little.
And so what really sparked this, we tried to get into it on the very end of the last podcast that we did, and I just don't think we had enough time. So that's to answer your one question. This is why we're involved in Homer Glen, because it's our tax dollars. They work for us. Whether they like it or not, they're my employee. And I bet they don't like that. I bet they don't. Would you like to be my employee? Like, if you were a government official?
Hell no.
Scary. So, another thing is, people are telling Blaine that, she's surrounding herself with very dangerous people, and I'm so dangerous, and I'm so this, and I'm so that. And
should I be concerned?
Yeah, my 5-year-old is sitting over there, hanging out.
So dangerous.
I'm so dangerous.
Like shaking over here, sitting across from you.
I'm so dangerous that I have a precedential ruling out of the 3rd District Court of Appeals of Illinois
that you mention every single podcast.
Good.
And hey,
good. I hope they all hear it.
I was gonna say good for you too, because right. I know the amount of money that you had to go through. Because, this is weird that I'm saying this, but as a lawyer,
right.
We're complicating the system, my own kind, right?
Sure.
I can step back and say that we're complicating it, and for you to have to go through all of that, and I can't imagine
it was a mess. It was a lot of money.
And that's why they say that because of what they see on the internet, what they see on your page. They don't know the real you. They don't know you're a good dad. They don't know you.
And that's okay. I mean, I first impressions are everything. Right? My boss told me that today.
Oh God.
First impressions are everything. And if they come to the page, and we're a very unfiltered page, right? We offer news, but at a different tilt, and it's not a biased tilt. It's a more of a here it is, figure it out. Like, we don't agree with this shit, and some of it's biased, some of it isn't. But I like to look at it as us calling it down the middle.
Is it biased, or is it? Sure, but you're reacting or you're responding based on prior interactions with these individuals that have not held themselves accountable.
Right.
And so, when we hear things, and regardless of if it sounds like it's just gossip, right?
Right.
The gossip is wasting our tax dollars.
It is.
And I'm frustrated. You're frustrated. Blaine's frustrated because, even 6 months ago, Blaine, you thought that there was positivity within our upper echelon of government, right? And that hopefully they were doing things effectively with our tax dollars, but even you've had to dig. And
that's all I do.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And here's the thing. This is how you know when she's getting close to something. They all shut up.
Or they start pointing fingers elsewhere.
Or they and start making fake pages about me, because it's easy. I'm an easy target for them, right? Like, the funny thing is, they're trying to use my own precedential ruling to libel me, right? Like, slander me. But that's kind of funny, because they're presenting documents that are like in my favor and making it sound like they're not in my favor, which...
Well, they're skewing the narrative.
Exactly.
That is what happens all too often in government agencies. The narrative is skewed to fit their own truth.
And of course, I'm not going to talk about any ongoing legal action that may or may not be happening, but, in the discovery process, we're going to find out a lot of things. So with that being said, I want to set this up a little bit, because Mayor Troike of Homer Glen says that you shouldn't be arguing online, says that, we should all come together as one. Brian, do you have the video? We have video of this.
All right, Homer Glen, I am aware of what's circulating on social media. I'm aware of what's going on with the chaos. I just want to take a minute and address the community. I wrote this down. I want to keep it short and sweet, because I know everyone has TikTok virus going on, but we don't have to agree on issues, the politics or the people. Yes, these are important topics, and we can feel strongly one way or another. I wonder, though, can we set aside the ugliness and get back to treating others as we wish to be treated? I encourage all residents to go to the source. If there's a question, a concern, a rumor you hear, please go directly to the person and find out the truth. It's very important to me that our residents stay as one. We can't continue the fighting. The negativity on Facebook is ugly, and we're better than that. And we can absolutely do better than that.
Stop the fighting, but I'm going to post 60 times.
The same lady that's telling you I'm very dangerous is married to a guy that was charged I don't know if he was charged or what it was in the late 90s for chasing black people down and shooting at them in the middle of the night one night with a bunch of his buddies. And I mean,
That's insane.
It's so odd that someone like that would be a commander of the Will County Sheriff's Department's IA department. But
Internal affairs, guys. And let's talk like internal affairs. What does that mean? That you're responsible for investigating all deputies' violations of the code of conduct.
Right.
Even though in 1999, you guys, or him and his deputy cronies, right, were at some sort of fundraisers, what I read, and then
yep.
This
was in Chicago. He was part of the Chicago Police Department at the time, so
yeah.
this wasn't a Will County issue. But
and I gotta say, I mean, we've talked about the fact that I have been, a willing participant in an internal affairs investigation, actually with Commander Troike. I would have liked to know that this was the individual I was dealing with, right? Well, but then I'm not privy to that information. But let's talk about what the allegations were in 1999.
Let's hear it.
So allegedly, Troike threw a beer can into an open window after going through a back and forth with a black couple in Chicago. They went through a 12-mile chase throughout Chicago and started shooting at the car. The couple that they were chasing after stopped at the Robbins Police Department to report being chased and shot at. They didn't know who was behind them.
And he was not on duty.
Not on duty. They were coming. From there was an appellate opinion that came out. It seems to me that they were trying to get the private attorneys appointed for the state's attorney's office to represent them. I don't know in what capacity, whatever it may have been. These facts come from there.
Yeah, there's a lot of paper on that one. And of course, we're in a digital era. Back then, there's not, those are all, you got to get the paperwork.
So here we go. The dispatch has one of the cops in the car on the phone saying, 5 fucking coppers with guns in pursuit of a reckless driver. And they were sheriff's deputies, had guns, and to, quote, kill 'em, fuck 'em, knock them fuckers off the road, end quote.
Wow.
On dispatch.
I didn't know
scary.
I didn't know you had receipts like that.
I mean, they're not mine. That's an appellate order.
I mean,
So you can find this stuff online.
Absolutely.
If you dig. Okay.
Sure. And so that's kind of what I'm glad that we're setting the stage up. So Brian,
did he get charged for that? Did he get in trouble for that?
One of I know that there was 2 people that were charged with attempt murder.
Oh my.
Because they were
That were with
shooting.
him?
And guys, this is not the days of technology where there are body cams or technology.
flock cameras.
No, and
none
so
of that.
their word would have trumped the other people's words, but for them stopping at the Robbins Police Department because they were being chased by 5 lunatics.
Right.
Over words, guys, that's what happened. There was words exchanged, which encouraged, throwing a beer can into an open passenger window.
And if that had been the tables had been turned, they'd arrest you for road rage, or assaulting a police officer, or attempted murder, or whatever they felt like charging you with. You know what I mean?
I can't tell you. I read that earlier, and I was, to be honest, disappointed too.
But I'm the dangerous one.
And Commander, I'm sorry. That's probably why I do surround myself with felons at this point, because this is our leadership.
Right? No, I mean, and the part here is that they're saying all of this stuff about come together, and it's just all bullshit. She posted that video on January 19th. Brian, can you bring up the post that we made on February 5th? And we shared this YouTube video. It was not our uploading. We had nothing to do with the editing, uploading, anything like that. I just literally shared the YouTube link. And it shows here that it's alleging that the murder in Homer Glen has ties to Mayor Netsky Troike and Will County Lieutenant Jeff Taylor. So
Commander Troike married. So the individual we just talked about, right?
Sure. Is married to the Homer Glen mayor.
Okay.
Okay.
Because remember, we
have 6 degrees to the Homer Glen people.
Yeah, she did her graph.
I had to we talked about this before we started the pod today, because in order to understand all of the people in bed.
Literally.
The pond. I named it the pond. How? I mean, I don't know why I said that. I slip of the
Sounds to me
tongue.
like
Sorry.
a swingers club out there.
But anyway, so I had to do like this nice little flow chart.
Got it. I mean, that's a whole lot of 6 degrees to one person.
Well, and just to explain too, because there are a lot of layers here, right? It's kind of like an onion, so let's peel back those layers. You know, you start off with Sheriff Kelly. You got deputy chiefs underneath him. I don't know how many he has, probably 4 or 5, maybe 6, who knows. One of those deputy chiefs is responsible for the individuals who are the head of internal affairs. There are 2 commanders that were in internal affairs, right? So those 2 commanders, including Commander Troike at the time, would be responsible for conducting any internal investigations regarding violations of code of conduct, right?
Sure.
So here we have allegations that, Lieutenant Taylor and then another unnamed individual in the department.
And we've learned that name.
Yeah.
I know who that is too. But there was a whole bunch of affairs going out there. I mean, and that's documented. I'm not making that up. This isn't gossip. This isn't tea. They were all sleeping with each other, and someone got killed over it. I mean,
thank you, because I think that people are like, oh, you want to talk about the gossip and the drama here. No, we actually don't want to talk about that. But the fact is, someone's dead,
right?
And it seems like to me, because I don't know if you know this, but her husband. So going into the facts then of this whole circumstance, right? There was a woman who worked for the village of Homer Glen, or I should say, as I understand it, right? So she works for the village of Homer Glen, Jackie Huff, right? Her husband, and she had filed for divorce at this time, but they lived in the same house, had a child together. He was a sergeant for the Glendale Heights Police Department.
That poor kid. That poor kid,
Yeah. Yeah, and, it's a sad situation, but then I started doing a little bit more digging, right?
We're going to start calling the segment Jackie's Rabbit Hole.
Oh, God. I get just me popping out with this high pony, too, right? Carrot? Anyways, Sergeant Huff was on record for stalking and harassing and intimidating other women at the department.
I didn't know that.
He also used village-owned equipment to track his wife as well as other individuals.
And we're assuming these other individuals could possibly be sheriff's deputies.
Potentially. I'm not going to surmise.
It was told to me from several sources, and I'm not going to release any names either way on the side. It was told to me that one of these deputies that this gentleman was actually waiting on one of the deputies to come home.
Oh my God.
That's what I was told. I don't know if that's how true that is, but it would seem like, somebody found out their wife's cheating on him with 15 different people, and he lost it. I'm not making excuses for him at all. Trust me, that's a coward way to go.
I'm sorry too. With we talked about it in the last episode, right? We want to have this reasonable person standard for a police officer that's been through so much and then's on the road without support from their administration, right?
Right.
They swept it under the rug is what you're saying.
I mean, I think the evidence shows that they swept it under the rug. I don't know any other case of where a mayor would be asking for a cell phone back on behalf of the family when she's allegedly having an affair with one of the deputies.
Well, I don't understand why she asked Jeff. Why did she ask Lieutenant Taylor? Why didn't she go to Jungles or somebody higher? That makes no sense to me.
Well, I mean,
there's a lot of good questions around this.
There's a lot of questions, and they're all friends, and friends aren't going to investigate friends, and friends aren't going to.
I think she knew Jungles wasn't going to give it to her either, so that's probably why she went to who she thought she could get it from. Seriously,
that is very insightful.
Yeah.
No,
that is. I don't disagree with that. I mean, that's a great point, and I think that overall, it's a sad situation, but at the same time, everyone, this is where the controversy comes in, right? So people are saying that there is a conflict of interest here because Mayor Troike's husband was the commander of internal affairs up until a few months ago, or a couple weeks, a month, whatever, when he retired. So they're saying that it's a conflict for him to be investigating basically his friends, over this whole situation. And she's saying that there is no, that there's pending lawsuits. And let me just get right into her comment. Did we already put that post up? So let me get into her comment real quick. And it's very telling. And then I want to get into a comment from one of our followers. So the mayor responds to that post and says the only tie is that the deceased employee worked at the village. Her parents asked her employer, the village of Homer Glen, to assist in getting that personal belongings back as that case was closed. The village nor the parents nor the parents were made aware of any internal affair investigation going on. Okay. Please stop spreading rumors, as it's a bad look for all. There are pending lawsuits on this matter. All who spread false information can be liable for slander. It's actually called libel. The father of the deceased has reportedly asked for all of us to stop. There it is right there. The father of the deceased has repeatedly asked for all of us to stop using his daughter's passing as a political football, and that he did, in fact, want the phone for photos. And I'm sorry, Mayor, I don't believe you. And don't ever come on my page and threaten us that you're going to sue us for slander, because that's not going to happen either.
That's how individuals that have the power of our taxpayer dollars behind us operate, though, because they can and they will use our taxpayer dollars. And, Laner Muchin, for example, feel free to go to my blog and take a look at that, because they've sent them after me before for trying to get one of, the government's employees into rehab. They will spend money, and that's $5,000 that the common folk don't have, right?
Right.
But they have all this money behind them, $20 and $35 million budgets.
Right. They go after they weaponize that and go after their opponents.
And that's the
what they do.
thing, Mayor Troike. That's exactly, I'm sorry, but for her to throw that around so easily, right? Mm-hmm. When you did, and also libel for what? Because it doesn't say that she did anything as part of it. It says that they're linked. I didn't post that. You didn't post that. None of us did. You shared it.
Right. And I said, this is interesting.
What's untrue?
There's nothing untrue. All of those are reports that she just doesn't like that she's named in. And Olivia Parker, one of our followers, and this is the great thing about having this open platform for people to decide on their own for, right? Like literally we put the post up and said, this is interesting. We didn't give a tilt on it. We didn't say, hey, one way or another, we feel this way. So I read you the mayor's response, and Olivia Parker, I don't know who she is. She's just one of our followers, but she hit the nail on the head right here, and I want to get to it. And she says, Mayor Troike, in situations involving an ongoing investigation and potential litigation, it is imperative that all public officials adhere to ethical standards and avoid any appearance of impropriety. You should have not directly contacted the Will County Sheriff's Office to request the return of the deceased's personal phone, as this presents a clear conflict of interest given your husband's command position within the department. Instead, you should have directed the family to the appropriate legal channels for retrieving the phone. Additionally, if litigation is indeed pending, as you claim, it raises question as to how you are privy to such information. And particularly since you assert that you have no personal involvement in the decedent's affairs. Furthermore, if legal proceedings are forthcoming, it would be equally inappropriate for you to publicly comment on the matter, like you have been on this thread, as doing so could potentially influence or interfere with the case. As our legal analyst, how do you feel about that?
I think that, Mayor Troike might want to hire Olivia on her team.
So this is not just us saying this. We're not all there's not us three, the crazy people talking about what's going on. They would like you to believe that. They would like you to believe that we're all crazy. We're all scorned women. I'm not a scorned woman.
That's me. That's my role. That's me. That's me over here.
They want you to believe that narrative, right? And
Yeah, they do. And they want to continue this narrative of, all women are liars, right?
I'm outnumbered here. I'm not answering that.
Yeah, say something.
Brian, do you have any other comments from other people? There was a couple that were sent in that I thought were interesting. That some people had. This is a response from the mayor. You're honestly a sick individual. Yes, one was transferred to a higher ranking position, and my husband retired in good standing. His department all came to his retirement, and he had nothing to do with anything. It's not often a sheriff and undersheriff show up to retirements. You can spin that any way you want. You will go to any length to lie to people, won't you? Who's paying you off? We know you're a fake profile. You have serious issues.
You know how I know you're part of the good old boys club?
Yeah.
It's not often a sheriff and an undersheriff show up to retirement. Thank you.
Right. Exactly. So this guy was juiced in.
Like I said, he was just a minion, though. He wasn't he wasn't controlling this.
Nobody got sent to a higher ranking position, though, correct or no?
No, the only punishment that I am aware of was Lieutenant Taylor, who lied during an internal affairs investigation. Let's talk about that.
Okay, wait, because I talked to Jungles about this. Did he lie during the internal affairs investigation, or just to just to his Will County's own? I don't know what you know besides of what I was told, but I was
read
told
it in a report, and I'm sorry if it's a report where he's answering questions by his own colleagues, right? I would expect honesty. I like, regardless of the rules, especially this is a criminal investigation
Sure.
or whatever, it was a criminal investigation. A criminal investigation that Jungles jacked up because he couldn't get in touch with the state's attorney's office.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't there a state's attorney on call 24/7?
I am right now, but not in Will County, not in Will County.
Right. Well, that's my point. The point. And I
There
remember the
is-
first time we had you on, you were on a
Yes.
call, and
Right before we started taping last
Exactly.
one, I had somebody airlifted from the jail. But that's the thing is, there's somebody on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Right.
and also. Come on. Like, and I never checked my voicemail, but you can get into contact with somebody. They have cell phone numbers. There's texting. Email. There's no reason that you didn't get a response from the state's attorney's office. No, he wanted to take it into his own hands. He jacked it up, and then Lieutenant Taylor received a verbal reprimand for this entire situation. I'm sorry, he lied. And there's another detective I know of who lied during an internal affairs, or was said to have lied during an internal affairs investigation, because he said, I don't recall, right?
Isn't that automatic termination?
Well, I remember
It
a
was.
city councilman, sitting Joliet city councilman had lied to Internal Affairs, and he resigned shortly thereafter with his pension.
So that's a big problem, right? If
Right.
you lie. So, this is a few years back, I'd say 5,
Rules
10 years
for
ago.
thee.
Wait,
but
you know
not
what?
for me.
I just want to say this,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't mean to play the devil's advocate, but like I talked to my dad about this because he was a police officer. If you can't control who they have sex with off the clock, but we don't know if they had
Correct.
sex with on the clock. We don't know their
Right.
story there at Homer Glen.
But
I've
you
heard,
can't
I've heard
say,
people getting bent over by porta potties.
Oh my God! Yeah,
That was in
I've
the
heard
comment
Yeah.
section. Yeah. There was in the comment section.
I guess
And-
like
and-
I just think of like a sanitary. I guess
Yeah,
I should.
yeah.
Oh God,
I
mental
mean-
images.
But I mean, like could they actually be in trouble? Like he was
Here.
having an affair with her off of the clock.
Let me set this up.
So
No, and that's
Juggles
not
can't
what
be
I'm
like,
saying.
hey, you or
Yeah, that's not that's a moral decision that he's
Correct.
making on his
Okay.
own, right? But however, when
You are questioned by the Internal Affairs
Right.
Department, right? And
Exactly.
you are expected to be honest because of the higher responsibility you are held to, right?
Well, I was told he didn't lie during his internal affairs
He said he never slept
investigation.
with her.
He may have not told the truth to others when they were questioning him, but in his internal affairs, he supposedly told the truth, and that's why he was not terminated.
I don't know about that.
I mean, you may know more than I know.
I know
don't
you're repeating what you've heard, and that's the thing
Yeah.
is,
So I've read most of the documents that this person sent, and they've posted the internal affairs stuff around. They've posted some stuff everywhere, and so I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, why wasn't he fired, right? Like, and there was another officer involved. Like, there's so many people involved.
Yeah, there's more than one
in-
officer involved.
Yeah, and he's not for some reason being talked about, and I'm not going to put his name out there. That people know who he is, and he knows who he is, but
But did he tell the truth?
so like I'll just read this. This was, I think, one of the screenshots from the video, right?
Sure.
And this is signed respectfully, Deputy Chief Daniel Jungles. After formally reviewing the message exchanges between Lieutenant Jeff Taylor and the victim, Jackie Huff, it was clear that Lieutenant Jeff Taylor lied during his interviews with the undersigned regarding his relationship with Jackie Huff. It was quite clear that Lieutenant Taylor and Jackie Huff had sexual encounters shortly before November 8th, 2023. What is unclear is why Lieutenant Taylor would lie about this, as he's not married and the victim is now deceased. Due to Lieutenant Taylor lying in a formal police investigation, the way he spoke to detectives regarding the cellular telephone, Lieutenant Taylor has violated numerous policies at the Will County Sheriff's Office. In addition, there is also a, quote, Brady, end quote, issue with Lieutenant Taylor regarding his truthfulness. What's a Brady issue? That means that
I know what a Brady issue is.
Okay.
But go ahead, tell us, because a lot of our viewers don't know what a Brady issue is. But
And just generally speaking, I mean, it's something that happens when a police officer has been found to have lied and when they were supposed to be truthful, and then
Right.
we have to disclose that as the state to, if you're the state, you have to disclose that to defense attorneys because that
a
is
Brady
it goes
violation.
to your truth and credibility on the stand, and so then you get to impeach them in certain circumstances with the fact that, oh well, you've lied in a formal investigation before. Yeah, that's pertinent.
right.
You know what's really interesting to me too? That whole 1999 situation.
Right.
They did interviews after, and they denied firing their weapons at them, even though they're on dispatch. And also, they refused to talk to the police officers that were investigating it. Lying?
After they called 911, right? They called dispatch. Right.
They were pursuing a reckless driver, right? But then they got caught because that reckless driver did the right thing and stopped at Robbins Police Department. And good thing because they
Thank God,
saved
they
their
might have killed
lives.
him. Might have killed him.
I don't know how they didn't.
So we're honing in on Jeff Taylor, but the other guy, what about him? Did he get in trouble?
I don't think they ever did an investigation.
Yeah, and I'm not really honing in on him. He's just the one whose name
he's
pops
all
up
over everything.
His name's all over everything. So I mean, I have no one else to talk
I think
about.
his name is more all over everything because his connection with Christina and the whole phone issue, and
Possibly, but these are the same people.
And to be honest, like I'm reading that statement and I feel like we're getting into like the gossipy part of this now.
Yeah.
And that's not the purpose of it because I don't
Right.
care. Again, bang whoever you want to bang.
Yeah, and I'm the same way, but don't do it on my tax dollars. I don't want to.
There's a dead body too.
That's
Right.
the
So
thing.
there is accountability there because like I'm sorry, she worked at the same place where their substation was located at.
Right.
And we want to assume that
So
this
my
only
thing is,
happened once.
so in that statement was from Deputy Chief Jungles, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
it was some sort of it was in that.
So
the
here's
YouTube
my
clip.
thing, and Jungles makes a good point right there. Why would he lie about this? Is he's not married, he's single, right? Like,
because he didn't want his girlfriend to find out.
but here's the thing though: if you're gonna lie about something that small and that little, what else are you willing to lie about? That's the question.
Oh, he probably didn't want to lose his job either.
Nobody wants to lose that $200,000 a year job.
And
However,
you know what? Good thing you brought that up because I think that's something we should talk about
And you
because
don't want to look like a scumbag.
there is a level of accountability for police that I can't like it's perfection, right? But then these are also individuals, as we've talked about before, dealing with, very intense situations. 80% of first responders are saying probably have PTSD, not diagnosed. And so, you have individuals that are dealing with the, roughest of the rough situations.
Sure.
They're running into if there's an active shooter situation while I'm running out of it, they're running into it, right?
Yeah.
And we do not have the proper support for them after, I mean, who goes to a bar after being involved in an officer-involved shooting?
yeah.
Mike Kelly does.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Come on. That's who, after that, he's voted back in.
Well, and that's
People
why
are
this,
scared to talk.
Again, that's the other reason why this podcast exists, why this page exists, because no one wants to talk. No one. I mean, Blaine will tell
I
you this.
didn't. I didn't for
No.
how long, because I
And-
was scared of what people would come after me for. And I'm like, I'm just trying to protect babies at this point.
That's me. Blaine
And-
will tell you all these government officials, they're all full of shit. They'll tell you, yeah, we want to come on and we want to talk about this and we want to talk about that, and then they don't want to come on and talk about it, and then they run
Day
to,
before,
You know what
right?
I feel like? I feel like
and they run to Scott Slocum because he makes them feel warm and fuzzy, and he's 90.
I feel like I was in the grocery store the other night. My phone was just blowing up, and I feel like people want us to be their mouthpiece. But then when it's kind of time for them to chime in and say, "Hey, blah 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 blah,"
Right.
da 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 da,
Put your name on it.
they are.
That's why I
they-
can only talk on things I've directly,
They
I have
they
more direct
they
knowledge.
go hide, and that drives me nuts because it's like, don't come to me to be your mouthpiece, but then you don't
Well,
back it up.
I gotta say though, sometimes when you even have physical evidence, right, they'll still skew the narrative, and so, not to compare this to something, but Stockholm syndrome,
Yeah.
right, when you are beaten down, and I was there, and then the wool was pulled off of my eyes, and I realized, oh my God,
Yeah.
I was part of the problem. And you don't
It
want to admit
happens.
that when you're working
Well, I
somewhere
mean, that's
that
your
you're part of
paycheck.
it.
You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and
Like-
also, when in my like internal, my moral code, it's like I'm doing the right thing for people. Like I'm doing the right thing by justice for my job. And then you step out of it and you see that not everybody has that mindset, right?
There's a different set of justices. In
I'll
this
tell you what
country.
this show's made me, like with Jackie being on here now, it's made me realize how much our tax dollars are wasted. Like she's brought that front and center to my attention,
that's a
which I think is
problem.
great.
And-
because we could fuel that into different resources, right?
and-
I didn't know about
this
the
is
whole
what
card thing too.
This is what I'm going to say, and we're going to get out of Troike and go to a couple other mayors that we need to get.
Mention
touch
the
on.
2022 incident, though.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
So in 2022, so this is the same mayor that is telling your friends that I'm very dangerous and blah blah blah. So this lady,
Danger.
danger. So this lady. In 2022, one of the trustees flipped a business card at her, and she went and made sure that person was arrested for assault,
Battery. I saw.
battery. Right now, this is an elderly person. This person's not like in their 30s.
Oh man, he might have a felony there.
Right. So they get a stalking no contact order, right, against this lady. Seriously, that's not the best part. After they go do all this shit to this lady on their ego run, they then show up in court and ask the court to dismiss everything. So it's basically, look at what we can do to you. This is how we'll try to ruin you.
But how much tax dollars did that waste?
I mean, think about it. So you've got clerk time, you've got the judge's time, and judges are handsomely paid, as they should be, because they're making, very serious
How many
decisions.
women walk into the order of protection court and are beaten up and are told that their story isn't good enough and that, sorry, I don't believe you, and they got a black eye. But a mayor can walk in because somebody threw a card at her, a business card, and bang. And we saw this with Mary Beth Gannon, too, when Mayor Bob Odenkirk.
Wait, was she the mayor then, or was she a clerk?
I don't know.
I don't know.
She was a clerk. She wasn't. I don't think she was the mayor then.
But the fact is, we're so quick to pull the trigger to get the
Yeah.
police officers involved when, I'm sorry,
Especially when your
sounds,
husband's a cop.
and it sounds to me like you're having like a alternative high school fight and you're trying to get the student council to decide that fight for you.
Right.
That's what it looks like to
It's
me.
all high school.
But those student council, they're on our dime.
And
That's-
Blaine brought this up before. So now the person that she had the stalking no contact order, they're besties now, right, Blaine?
Yeah, I think they're on the. I think.
Hey, and I'm
I think
glad
she's
that
on the-
they had a
she's pulling
talk.
that slate, yeah.
Hey, that's how adults are supposed to handle things.
Right.
We have talks and, we have a discussion and realize it's not always about being right. It's about understanding one another, and not being silly by, like, I don't know, drawing a mustache on a picture.
Thank you, because I was getting ready to. I want to transition into that because I want to get into some other mayors while we're getting this done because we're running short on time. Again, so there was an incident within this time frame from January 19th where the mayor's husband drew a mustache and I don't know goatee on someone's one of the trustees' pictures. He drew like it was supposed to be
like
funny.
in a picture frame,
At the
right?
Village Hall.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
at Village Hall. So cops get called, of course. They go over there. Her husband is the subject of it.
Oh, he's being investigated for that then?
Well, apparently not. So again, the mayor releases a statement. And,
Oh,
and
good.
so I want to go ahead and give you this statement. Hello, I wanted to get ahead of I wanted to get ahead of this before comments got out of control. We're already doing
Hey,
in the
read
first sentence.
right there. Like, what do you read between the lines? I want to get ahead of what? First off,
Right.
But ahead of this, it's like no. She wants to get her story out there in a public way because she's an elected official. So then she spreads her narrative before anybody has an opportunity to say otherwise.
Correct. So,
So let's hear it.
all right. So, hello, all. I wanted to get ahead of this before comments got out of control because we have to control people's comments now. Mr. Mason does not have Facebook and asked for me to announce that he is safe and not calling extra patrols on his home due to drawing of a mustache. So, I find this funny because she's always speaking for someone, right? She's speaking for the dead person's dad.
And this is funny.
She's
This is
speaking
funny to
for the
her.
dead person. She's speaking for Mr. Mason. This is all a fucking game to them. And this is a game. She's getting paid $73,000 a year to hold that job, and they're fucking drawing on people's pictures in the vestibule. Like, hello? Okay, sorry, I gotta get back to this. My ADHD.
No, it's frustrating too because it is funny if you don't call the police to investigate it. Are you kidding me?
Right, and then she'll blame that on someone else. She says it's silly, but it's an ongoing joke between my husband and Mr. Mason. There is no damage to village property. That's a lie. This is a dry erase marker that was easily erased with a wipe of a tissue. Don't care. As you can see in the
Just like
reflection.
22, right? For that battery charge.
And
easily.
here's where she goes on the attack. As you can see in the reflection of the glass, you can see the person taking the photo who chose to circulate this to make it a bigger deal than it is. Mr. Mason was aware of the scribble and asked for it to stay until he could see it. No malicious intent here. It is two friends taking jabs at one another. Truth be told, this has been an ongoing joke for years between trustees in the village. Yes, a certain individual asked for a police report to be done and have it investigated. Well, I am here to say the search for the subject is called off. My deepest apologies that some forgot what it was like to joke with a friend, but that is truly what this is. Although my father was the one first accused of this, I have to say it was not my father, it was my husband. Now let's take a vote to see if Mr. Mason looks better with a mustache or not. So again, we're making a joke out of it. Everything to them people is a joke. Okay, so
Stop wasting my tax dollars then with these jokes.
with your fucking jokes. Like
If these are just such jokes for you, and now
But
you.
the tax dollars for this situation was sheriff had to be called
Oh
over there.
God, we talked about it a little bit last episode.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
they have to investigate the case. They have to pull the videos. It's just wasteful. And sure, it's not that much time, right? But then all the fodder around it. I can't imagine how much conversations took place at the village of Homer Glen
well, that's it. Yeah. Right.
related to this. Really? So you guys wasted an entire day, like when we could have been going through the budget and cutting costs.
But that's what they say they're doing. They're fiscally conservative, right? They're so conservative over there, and really all they do, like I told you earlier, the mayor of Homer gets paid almost 74 grand a year. It's not chump change, right? She supposedly has a business or something like that. I don't know. I don't know where she gets all her money. I'm sure her husband gets a fat retirement check, because it really pays to shoot at black people. What happens?
It's so interesting. Like, I don't
Oh,
know.
man, I could go
I
all
don't
day.
know how the rankings or promotions go on, right? But it's interesting that people that were internal affairs got promoted within the 3 years of their retirement, right? And you get paid out for I think your top three highest years. Like, I guess I just don't understand like what the need was to promote them, but for padding a pension. But then again, I don't, I don't make those big decisions. I don't make those big bucks, but I do see my tax dollars repeatedly being wasted, right?
And they're being wasted from Florida. So somebody in Florida is calling to waste your tax dollars for a position they should be at here, and that's a real problem for me too.
One last thing too, like just to say, Deputy Chief Dan Jungles had a very strong opinion as to what should happen with Lieutenant Taylor, but he got a verbal reprimand because of a flawed investigation.
Yeah,
Flawed investigation.
right.
Why do I keep hearing that?
And let's think who was in charge of that investigation.
Because he couldn't reach the state's attorney. Is that true?
I don't know what's true coming out of there. There's so much stuff.
I wish he'd come on here and talk, but they won't let him.
Yeah, they won't let him. Like that's my problem, Blaine. That's my problem with these elected
There's
officials.
too many truthful things they could say that could get us into a jam.
They don't want to come on. They won't let him. That tells me you have handlers. That tells me you have someone pulling your strings. And if you have someone pulling your strings, guess what? I don't want you sitting across from me because you're just going to feed me a line of shit and waste my time.
But okay, and again, I'm gonna just say
Go
this.
ahead. No, you're good. This
I
is
want
what
to
you're
say
supposed
this
to do.
because this is we're all here because we all
Yeah.
have different opinions of some things sometimes. It's not worth. I'm sorry, but whoever Jeff Taylor screws wouldn't be worth me losing my job. So like if it would cost Jungles his job, and he would get in trouble for coming on here and telling the truth about the situation. Sadly, it sucks
get
for
what you're
us.
saying.
But like I don't give a shit who Jeff Taylor screws. I'm
Right.
not gonna
No, but I
put
guess-
myself out there for
I
him.
guess, but put yourself out there to be, so that the public is paying his,
But
future
I-
pension
right,
and his check
right.
right now.
Right.
Like, how come there was a flawed investigation, right?
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
I do
No,
hope
I
that
agree.
that's what he brings to the table. Like if he does get elected,
oh my God, I just hope he doesn't get elected.
well, I'm just saying if he does, if
I will not tell you who to vote for. I will tell you who I'm voting for, and sure as heck is not him.
Well, I mean, it's,
Mr. Riley's, I call him Mr. Riley because he's my dad's friend.
Jim.
Yeah, him or Jungles. I think. I mean,
if
and then
we
there's
get
a new
away,
one you showed me.
Yeah, I saw
coming in.
Patrick Jones just announced.
know who that's at.
I want to do some investigation on him. I don't know who he is, but he just yesterday I saw that the patch said, and he's a current deputy right now, and it
Nice.
seems like he wants to try to bring some levity to the administration from the deputies that are on the road. We talked about it last time too, but I think that is something that. Take a look at Mike Kelly's website from the last election and tell me, how many high pressure incidents he's been involved in. How about his deputy chiefs too?
Where can
well,
we
his
find
deputy
this
chiefs,
stuff?
his deputy chiefs have been involved in way more high pressure situations than he has because they do all the work. Like, I mean, say what you will about Jungles, he's the guy running the show right now. He's doing all the work. I
absolutely.
mean, and he's getting paid for his position, not for the mayor's or for the sheriff's position. So, I mean, if it was me,
But then again, he's getting paid to do a job that we have a lieutenant who's on duty right now who should have been fired.
right?
Are you talking about Taylor?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, if you
Yeah,
lie
yeah.
during a police investigation.
What happens if I lie to the police?
Here, and actually, because I started talking about this earlier, so this is probably 5-10 years ago. I don't know exactly when, but there was a detective who went through an internal affairs that I heard, and he lied, or was said to have lied, right, by whoever was in charge of that investigation. So fired. tax dollars were spent because he sued the county to get his job back. He said, I didn't lie, right? What did he say that was a lie? I don't recall. You can't fire somebody.
It's not an assertive statement.
It's not a lie, right? So guess who's got his job back and is working again? And then we had to pay out for how many years of him not working because he got fired. And then we had to go, he had to sue to get his job back. And then I'm sure that there was probably additional dollars like on repeat, right? That's one situation. And that's the thing is we're paying money to cover the administration's egos versus them just say like, hey, it was a mistake, Lieutenant Allen.
Right. I agree with that. I just wish they would just come out and be like, now there's a trigger theory or something. I posted it right before we came on.
What did we say? And there's going to be so many. Guess what? It could have been 3 different external factors, like minutia, that we don't know about.
Right.
But we're not going to get that answer. And here we are spending how many hundreds of thousands on defense experts on.
And I'm going to use that to transition into the mayor of Plainfield. How much money, you live in Plainfield.
Yes.
How much money is being spent?
God, can you not say that? Like,
Sorry, I didn't mean it like that.
Hi, I'm following the law. Don't arrest me.
Okay, so explain to me how the mayor of Plainfield has taken his case of fines that he owes to the Supreme Court now of the Illinois State Supreme Court.
So if my understanding is correct, he's filed a petition for leave to appeal. The Supreme Court still has to grant it. I don't know if they've done that.
Okay.
And there's like 2% of cases.
And he's lost
that.
both of his appeals.
So how I understand it is, and to be quite honest, I see a person who ran for mayor of Plainfield because of ego.
Oh, yeah.
Because
There's
there
no
were
bigger
fines.
ego in Plainfield than that guy.
Fines against the law firm that he has for like fire code violations, right? And instead of doing the reasonable thing, talking with the village, and like I used to know who the village attorneys are, and I know the current ones too. They're phenomenal,
right?
And one is a judge actually now, and phenomenal one. So he could have just had reasonable conversations. No, like he decided to put his foot down, right? It's an emotionally immature child in an adult body throwing a temper tantrum. And so instead of just paying the fines or working out a deal with the village, he decides or the village had to file suit against him for the fire code violations.
And then he fought it because he's defiant and he's going to cost the taxpayers money and then turn around and say, look how stupid it is that they're picking on me.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing.
Little man syndrome.
It's deflection, too. And that's what's driving me crazy because has he brought some really great restaurants and some good community, situations? Sure. And like we see that on his Facebook because that's all he talks about.
Oh, sure.
But, we're not talking about the 6 industrial buildings that they just approved to bring in. And I'm sorry, why do we need industrial buildings at this point?
Right.
I want green space. I moved to Plainfield because of oh God, I'm just outing myself too. I moved it because the green space, the community to raise a family,
sure.
right? Not to live around buildings. And that's the thing is there's a need
or warehouses.
For that. Yeah. But also tell me what the need is and also show me how that's going to benefit me and my taxes are so high.
Right.
So high.
Right.
5 figures, and
they give these guys tax breaks to come in and build these big buildings, right?
But they then promote to village residents this is going to bring in so much money.
And the other problem I have with Argadelis is on the zoning side of these things, he waits for it to pass zoning, and then on the other side of it, he represents the people that are he represents the industrialists, I guess you would call them, right?
I have heard that, and that's the thing. He's an attorney and he's the mayor, but he can still represent private corporations. And as so long as there's no impropriety at the front end of things, there's nothing blocking him from representing those same builders or those same industrial individuals. So I haven't seen evidence of it. I don't like to try to make accusations without actually seeing paper copies.
I've seen it. So here's the thing:
follow the money.
Exactly.
Right?
It's always follow the money. Here's the thing with John and his little friend Garrett Peck. They're very subpar human beings, right? So John is aware that one of his clients is committing estate fraud, right? She's ripping off her children to the tune of about $350,000 and counting right now, right? John's boyfriend, when we made this post about him and DeBolton, it was just kind of a joke, right? We were the face you made. That's what we do. We joke, right? Well, his boyfriend took exception to that and decided to jump on there and tell me all the details of the case of this mother who's stealing from her kids, but he didn't know I already knew.
Yeah.
So how is John talking about confidential client information with his boyfriend, who's 25 or 30.
His
years
boyfriend
old.
came on your page and wrote
Oh yeah.
stuff? Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. He jumped on there hard, and then he got smacked, and he deleted everything.
Oh.
Everything got. We have all the
Dirty delete.
screenshots.
Dirty delete.
and-
Dirty delete.
Yeah, but it's true.
But it was private information. I my heart dropped to my stomach. Like,
You
kids.
screenshotted that, right?
Oh, heck yeah. It's just so, but this is the lengths people are willing to go to protect their own egos.
Right. And let's not forget about the time they sent me a check, Garrett Peck and John Argadelis, so that I would go create a page against Margie Benucci and do all of this stuff to make sure she didn't get elected. And I have the check. I got the receipt, Garrett.
Who did that?
Garrett Peck.
Okay.
Garrett Peck, through a strategy company of his, sent me a check. I didn't do anything for him. But, he was like,
This is in your past, right, Justin?
right, I don't do that shit. I don't take money. I don't take donations from
This is in the
from
past.
politicians. I don't
No.
like them. Like,
We know too much. That's the thing is like that. I'm glad you brought it up though, because sure, say what you want. Say what you want about us.
The
But
point of me of bringing it up was that these are the people that Plainfield voters are dealing with. They're very slime balls. Garrett Peck is out there running a campaign right now saying that he is not a hard Republican. That man was Trump everything the first time that guy won. He was all over the world. Trump this, MAGA that, Trump this, MAGA that. Then all of a sudden he ordered his bride from the Ukraine, and now he's an independent.
What is he running for?
He's running for some kind of trustee.
people
a
can
low-key.
change, right? I've been on both sides. I've been Republican, Democrat. Like I've been on all sides of things, and now I am an independent. But then again, too, like I said, there's no room for strategy in government, and I understand that's what the world has come
When
to.
you're playing to the crowd, right?
Well, and stop. Like, I'm so sick of everybody talking, and we are believing their words, which we should be able to. Because
Right.
if you're running for office, you should be held responsible for lying. But they're not. So we have to believe the actions. Well, when we can't get a view of the unbiased actions, right? Because people are too afraid to talk. Well, that's how the three of us ended up here at this table.
Exactly.
Because when we start asking questions, you're not getting any answers. Instead, it's like, well, look over there. Look, where do we go?
Don't look over here. Don't look over there.
And I'm down in the rabbit hole, like, where?
The boyfriend actually had enough nerve to say, I guess if you don't like how she spent the money, that's really, that's your problem. No, listen to me, idiot. That's a class 2 felony. It's called embezzlement.
I gotta
You
say-
cannot take money from your minor children who do not know that you're taking their money. The woman hasn't worked in 2 years. I can go on forever, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to. The point I'm making is that him and Argadelis need to shut up, and they really should just be ran out of office. They're horrible for Plainfield. They're horrible for they're just not good people, right? Like this
Reputation is who people think you are.
Right.
Character's who you are.
That's right.
Well, stop believing, because unfortunately we can't believe what's coming out of people's mouths,
Nope.
So believe the actions, right?
Right.
And don't just believe what comes from his Facebook page, right? It's biased. It's going to just promote him. And hello,
Right.
how many, I had
People always make their Facebook.
Hey,
look
and guess
great,
what? It
you
is
know?
supposed to be polished, not for not for government, especially when
Right.
you're my employee.
Well,
Yeah.
and how many people from Plainfield didn't even realize that our site existed and were like commenting, like, how do I not know this existed? Blah, blah, blah. People want to know what's going on.
Well, and with elections, I remember having a discussion with somebody because it's like they tried to get information during the last election about a candidate that they had to vote for. And I think I talked about it too. Like I tried to get information on an appellate justice that was running against, I forget, it was in 3rd district, but I couldn't find any information as an attorney. Right. And then he almost won the election.
Right.
So
Who are these people?
that was very concerning to me. And so people were commenting on like a Plainfield post saying, I try to get this information. I can't even figure out who this person is. How? With social media?
Right.
How can we not?
That's exactly right.
That's because the priorities are totally twisted. We're prioritizing money, power, greed versus action.
Right.
And I want
Yep.
to see more action.
Checking on a little guy over there.
Yeah. Oh, you danger. You're
I know,
so dangerous.
And I'm gonna we're getting pretty short on time here, so we're gonna bring it back around. But yeah, that's the problem with Argadelis and Peck. That's the problem I have with them. Like they,
Look at the bigger picture. It's a resounding theme here.
What
These
about
egos.
Shorewood?
So real quick, it's my understanding through several sources that the Joliet clerk was also sleeping with the mayor of Shorewood, and I was told that that's why she had left the elected position and then went and took a big
Until
check.
next time.
And so that's, I mean, that's a whole nother animal right there. And, people are posting whatever they want about it, but we really haven't touched base on it because there's not much out there. I don't really care that he was banging Lauren, whatever her name is. I mean, she walks around with a mattress on her back anyway. So I don't, that doesn't matter to me.
That's a new one. I never heard of that.
They do it all the time. They're all,
But it's the rules for and that's the thing is they're enforcing. We're talking about a bunch of people that are holding other people accountable for these laws, for these, internal police codes of conduct, right? When they're not following the same ones. And it's the same problem in parenting as I see it. You know, the do as I say, not as I do
But
mentality.
you can't get in trouble really, they can't get in trouble by being the mayor and sleeping with such and such.
No, it's just ethics.
just
I mean,
morals.
just
You're
ethically
talking
wrong.
morals,
You know what I
right?
mean?
Yeah.
It's just ethically
Well,
wrong.
and think about it. When you run for one of these positions, what are you doing? I'm a family man. I'm a Christian man.
I'm this guy. I'm so great. Look at me.
Hello. And then, if you want to hear a story about a Class X child abuse case, right. Where a stepdad horrifically essayed his stepdaughter for 4 years and was a village board member, a volunteer firefighter.
And then found not guilty.
Stepdad, those titles he had, right? That's why I say do not believe a title. Do not believe these
Those
societal
people make me
titles.
sick.
I can't stand
The
Because-
bigger the title, the more suspect I am.
Right.
And this is what we're allowing, though, by encouraging this behavior in our government. When you've got these moral issues going on for the people that are running on campaigns for being moral, high values, integrity. I'm good. Oh my God, conservative transparency. I'm like, whoa, well, it's like what they show you. And believe me, I'm independent. Goes both ways.
Well, and I saw something on my way in here today, and like Trump or not, one thing that Trump has exposed is that the Republican Party has been complicit and inept for the past, I don't know how many years. And,
we gotta stop pointing the finger at each other. And that's kind of also what we're trying to show people. It's like, start holding our government officials accountable.
So before we go tonight, I want to touch base on one last disgraceful mayor, and that would be Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, boy.
So
Former.
I'm former Mayor Bob Odenkirk. There's a former for a reason. He got his ass kicked by Terry Darcy in the last election. He filed a federal RICO lawsuit against Joe Hosey, Al Roshner, Reed, Don, or was Dickinson in there? No, it wasn't Don. It was Mudrin.
He's, because
He's the snitch. Yeah. So he, well, not. I shouldn't
By
say
the
the
way,
snitch. I think he's the story maker.
I read that investigative, that was such a soap opera. The Inspector General's report or whatever. It was so great, right? And I loved reading it. If it was a telenovela or a soap opera.
Man.
But I'm sorry for that to be our government officials and how many hundreds of $1,000s were wasted.
And then
for that.
Odenkirk hired that Inspector General to just simply go after all of his people because he knew that he was going to get smoked in the
If
election.
I am Joe Hosey, though, you bet your ass I'm sitting there like, what police report's going on?
What journalist is not going to take that meeting? There's not a journalist on this
He's
fucking
not
earth.
at fault. That
Right.
cracked me up because they're all like, oh, Hosey's in on it. No, he's not. He got called, I'm sure. I don't know Hosey.
Right.
I haven't talked to him about that situation, but I can only imagine someone called him and said, there's going to be a police report that's coming out about D-pics, right? And he's like, yeah, I'll be there.
I'm
That'll
on
be
my
great,
way.
you know?
I'm on my way.
But so he is another adult or, emotionally immature man stuck in or a child stuck in an adult, and he threw a temper tantrum by filing a federal RICO suit.
Right.
It can't just be me why the people didn't vote for me.
Right. It had to be those people from the internet.
It's because of that. That's the only reason. So I'm going to file a federal. And so then who has to defend that federal RICO?
Well,
suit?
all the insurance companies. So all the insurance companies are now going to want their money back, right? You're not going to. So you can play with people, but people that have deep pockets, if you run them into court and you don't have shit, they're going to use their deep pockets to come get their money back. So,
but that's the thing too. We're making an assumption that they will. Will they?
I don't know.
I hope they do. Like an
some of my
wait, what is that
sources-
called? An indemnification or I don't know.
Some of my sources have told me that there are certain people that are going to pursue extra things against him.
They
and
should.
good-
I'm sorry
good for
if
them.
you incurred the cost, and that should be something that's out there. Not only, I don't know. There's a big, a lot of the laws are flawed, right?
Right.
We'll keep saying that until they stop being so hyper regulated and to stop abusing. Stop it. I mean, look at the police situation there too in Joliet. That's an
Right.
abuse of police power. Oh, look at Homer Glen, abuse of police power. Oh, like come
Right.
on.
It just goes one after
How
another
many
after
sheriff's
another.
it just happens over and over again.
Yeah.
When's it going to stop? When are we going to stop bleeding out money?
That's the question. When are we going to start bleeding money? Stop bleeding money. Like that is the real question because that's all we're doing.
Never.
So
feel
with
like it never
that,
stops.
with that being said,
know.
ladies, let's put a hard stop on it till next time, next week.
Which rabbit hole will we go down?
I don't know. It's going to be
Well, if
some
I'm
good stuff.
invited back,
Let's see what the internet dictates.